What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Rebel Radio. I'm your host, Josh Levine. My guest today is Geoff Moore. Geoff is a noted fashion photographer, music photographer, professional photographer. He's just launched his show Endorsement here in Los Angeles, which is the Unseen Cobain Photos. He basically got special access to shoot inside the storage facility of Kurt Cobain's stuff. I really want to do an art show of the stuff that I have in storage. It's mostly lint and unread magazines. I think you all will really enjoy that. But Geoff is an amazing photographer. You've seen his work, both still and music videos for folks like Jewel, David Lee Roth, Red Hot Chili Peppers, long list of musicians, as well as a number of fashion magazine covers. You can check out all his work. I think it's geoffmoore.com. And right now you'll see his giant images he shot for the new T-Mobile outdoor campaign. Huge black and pink billboards all over the country. That's Geoff's stuff. He's going to give us some lessons on how he built his career, on what it's like being a photographer in the era of Instagram when everybody is a photographer. And my favorite thing he talks about is just faking it till you make it. He's got some great stories about that and about how he just stays on his hustle every day.
You heard some of
Peanut Butter Wolf.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you?
Peanut
Oh,
Butter
cool.
Wolf.
Awesome.
Love that guy.
Cool guy.
Yeah. And did
got
you
a
know
cool
him?
following.
I mean, I know him.
Yeah.
Not like texting him right now
Right.
to say what's up, but yeah,
Sure.
I know
Yeah,
Peanut
yeah.
Butter Wolf. Yeah,
But it's funny, like
He's a
he's
good dude.
so super mellow in person.
super mellow.
And then he kind of brought a little energy on the mic,
Did he?
which was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I worry when people are sometimes they're so calm that like,
Yeah.
try to.
Yeah,
we need like a monkey running around
Yeah.
in the back.
I mean, he is a real deal
Oh,
DJ
yeah.
beat maker, and like what
For
he's
sure.
doing with his vinyl and all that. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, he is a cultural tastemaker.
Yeah.
For sure.
no doubt.
Are you hip hop?
I do come from hip hop.
You do?
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, I guess my era, growing up in like Pasadena and LA,
Yeah.
80s,
Yeah.
like literally when like KDAY AM 1580 AM
Uh-huh.
started, we would like go there and get stickers when it was in Echo Park. It was
Yeah.
like
That's
a
right.
little radio station. We would listen to the Friday night mixtape show,
Crazy.
and I mean, you know, my school is probably 70% black,
Right.
20% white, 10% Mexican. So I mean,
Yeah.
I just grew up in kind of hip hop culture.
For sure.
But then quickly got it. I mean, so it's always been a part of me. But then I definitely got into like kind of like the alternative punk
Right.
rock kind of thing. So it's
Yeah, that's the funny thing. I think LA,
Yeah.
you know, New York, like, it wasn't until much later that I grew up in San Francisco, which is the same way, where like, you know, yeah, there's rock kids, there's hip hop kids, there's, you know, but you're kind of exposed to everything,
yeah,
right? And you know, you get pieces of it, and then one thing is like your thing,
yeah.
but the rest of it, you know, is still there, right? And it wasn't until later that I met people that just like, you know, they grew up, they're like our age, they grew up on like Weezer, and like
Right.
they never heard.
Right.
You
I grew up
know.
on like EPMD when it
Right.
like, first came out,
Yeah.
and like you know what I mean, like
What
Yeah,
was it?
like-
Do you remember like early records that like impacted you when you were young?
Houdini, EPMD. I mean, all those like Roxanne Shante, and actually later in life, for the last 10 years, one of I guess my BFF is the Lady Tigra from La Trim.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like she came out here to do another record, and she actually ended up becoming my neighbor.
Oh,
She's-
nice.
Yeah, she's the shit.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from her in a while. They had a cool thing.
Yeah, La Trim
Happening,
was,
yeah.
you know what I mean? They're definitely in that kind of historic,
Yeah.
first female era of hip hop.
We like the Cars.
Cars that go boom.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's like the first song my wife sang to my son.
Really?
Because some reason, I don't know why, but like they would sing it, and
Oh,
to
I
this
feel
day,
like I
it's-
remember it.
it's like a thing. The two
Yeah,
of them
she
sing it
sings it.
together.
We like the cars.
Yeah.
The cars that go boom.
Yeah, she
With
sings
Bunny
it. I was
It's-
just like, where do I know that? She
That's
sings. She
hilarious.
still sings it now.
So how do you know Tigra?
We met through like just mutual friends, and
Yeah.
it just kind of hit. I actually shot her for Herb magazine.
Nice.
That's where I met Lady Tigra.
Okay.
So when she was doing her comeback, I don't know, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
We did a shoot, and she brought a little puppy, and then she was looking for a place to live, and right behind me was a house for rent. So then we became like family. She's
Nice.
she's Haitian, and she would like cook up the Haitian chicken,
Oh,
rice and
nice.
beans, and it was like
Yummy.
yeah, and it was like BFFs
Yeah.
ever since.
Through the
Miami has a
food.
lot of Haitian influence, so I know
Oh
about
God,
that.
it's good food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah,
good food.
Definitely. So, how'd you get started taking pictures?
Let me get this gum out of my mouth. I would say I was definitely one of those kids that just was, I like to say that for my era, I was super young because I was like 9 or 10, like, you
Yeah.
know, with a little Instamatic camera, just kind of taking pictures of
Are you
everything.
gonna eat that later?
Yeah, thank you. Just kind of taking pictures of everything. I guess I always looked at life kind of like through kind of like movie frames.
Yeah.
And I think was just kind of in me, whether like I was at the beach and I would like, man, this is like a composition with the surfboard right here and the person walking right there and the ocean right here and the light hitting the person right here. So I think I was just mesmerized by creating images.
Yeah.
And at first, I mean, being a youngster and a kid, I was like, oh, I want to be like a National Geographic photographer.
Yeah.
Shoot nature and
Yeah.
the running horse and this.
Sure.
And then my joke is that I turned about 16, then I really discovered women. And
Yeah.
kind of like, well, let me mold that into the whole
Of course.
beauty equation.
Yeah.
It's funny now because I was like, oh, yeah, I was young at like 10, 11, starting to take pictures. But now kids are like 3 years old with iPhones, like
Right.
getting pretty great
Oh, yeah.
images.
Right.
So
sure.
it's
It's crazy.
It's kind of awesome as far as with all these iPhones and
Right.
digital cameras that people can just like
Yeah.
create and shoot.
I mean, you tell it, pretty casual, right? Like, oh yeah, I just, I was into images and I took pictures, but it wasn't that easy back then, right? Like,
And it was all film.
it was all film, and you had to get a dark room, or you had to were you dropping stuff off at Fox Photo, or
Well, I would say I definitely was one of the kids that like I was like in high school. I was like I'm going to take photography,
Yeah.
and that's old school, man. I mean, we
Yeah.
were like developing film, going in the dark room,
Yeah.
For class, for after class, and I would say still right now I have a camera in my pocket. I've always been that kid that just took pictures of my life, and
Right.
and so what I always suggest to people that assist me or intern me and they want to get into the photography thing, I'm like, shoot your life, shoot
Yeah.
your friends,
Yeah.
shoot those moments,
Yeah.
because I shoot these like big, glossy projects with all kinds of entourage, and some of the pictures that get me my biggest jobs were just snapshots
is that right?
of laughing Lady Tigra in the club,
Yeah.
of life moments. I mean, I did this T-Mobile campaign, which is kind of on every billboard across everywhere.
The
right
big
now.
pink.
Yeah, all the black and
Billboards
white
and-
kind of
yeah.
action
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Times Square. It's like everywhere, and the ad agency and the client was like, we love all your work, but really what this campaign is, it's a section of your website called Snaps, and Snaps is, like I said, it's just my life. And I was like, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course,
Sure.
it was like a big, huge production to do that, but.
So how does that work, right? Like, how do you take that thinking that's just very in the moment, just a snap, right? And how do you apply that in the big setting when there's craft services and agency folks running around? And
Yeah, it's kind of
how do you
funny.
not lose that?
It's kind of for that in particular job. It was, obviously it was a big production. We went over to London to shoot it, and we casted about 30 real people. And when we were first casting it, I was telling the casting agent, I was like, see all these reference pictures, which were my homies.
Yeah.
Basically. I was like, these are all my LA friends. I was like, you need to find me.
These people.
You need to find me London friends.
Yeah.
And then of course there's a whole ad agency and lots involved to find the
course.
perfect people. And then the actual shoot, it's funny you say that because, I'm basically setting up a shot like I would take just a spontaneous moment of a friend. So I have like assistant holding one light and
Yeah.
just me and the person, because I like to really get in there. We play music and we kind of get a whole high energy kind of vibe. And then I look back and it's literally like 60, 70 people, you know what I mean? Like hair,
Wow.
makeup, ad
Yeah.
agencies,
Yeah.
Sure.
other clients, art
Sure.
department, this like massive set. I totally cracked up to myself. Not saying it's that easy, because it's
Right.
just that's the look for that campaign, and that's kind of the intimacy I wanted to bring. You
Yeah.
know, and now I look at it, because they do advertise so much. It's kind of, I just call it kind of my corporate art show.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Are you self-taught?
I am self-taught. I mean, like I said, I did go to some, high school classes and get
Yeah.
some basics, but I guess I went to the University of Trial and Error. So many rolls of film. I took to Narduli on La Brea right here,
Uh-huh.
and like shit, it's off. And,
Yeah.
Right.
having to, because digital now you can like see and
Right. Well, yeah, and you can shoot as much as you want now,
you
right?
just
Like
shoot,
back
shoot,
then it was
shoot. Not dead.
every
and-
36 shots was money flying out the door.
Yeah,
right?
and the ironic thing is I go back to some of those proof sheets and film rolls now, and just magic, man. I mean, there
Yeah.
is, there's definitely magic in film.
Yeah.
Even though I'm mostly digital now, I totally respect. I see all these skateboarders, man. They're just like into like us and film.
Uh-huh.
Hashtag real film.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's kind of awesome. But they will also get all those trips to the lab and the bills for
Yeah.
that too. So.
Right.
sure.
Does
Wait.
that? Sorry.
Go ahead.
This is very interesting. Does that change your creative process? Like, the film seems like you have to be super calculated, or like you're a little bit more careful about the shot, and then like doing digital, you can get messy, and like there's some, within that messiness, there's like a beautiful piece of work. Like, how do they compare?
Well, I mean, I think film has its own kind of texture and look, but digital's gotten so good that it's really the same game of
Yeah.
how I'm lighting it and
Right.
what look.
So the
what
energy
look
is
I'm
still the
giving it.
same.
Yeah, I would say everything's the same, except that any professional job I do, like a client's gonna want it digital now, unless
Yeah.
it's some
Right.
real
Yeah, sure.
craftsman fine art thing. But
Sure.
I mean, I couldn't imagine shooting, 20,000 images for a campaign and getting those, rolls of film developed
Right.
in 2016.
Right. Yeah,
know.
of course. Of course.
No one wants to wait 3 days anymore. Everything's instantaneously.
Right.
Everyone's, trying to pop up at Instagram and,
Yeah.
So
so fast.
So you've learned this craft. You're a great photographer, and I mean you don't need me to tell you that.
Thank you.
You can look at your own website and see. but now, like you said, every 3-year-old has a camera,
Mhm.
right? That's better than the one you grew up with in some ways, right? So, what's the difference? Like, why? In a world where anyone can shoot decent-looking images, why does T-Mobile come to you, right? And why? What is the role now of the professional photographer?
Well, I mean, I think, you're always going to, you have to sort through the weeds to find the gems.
Yeah.
Because, there's, a billion photos out there and a million photographers, but I think certain people kind of stand out and you build your brand, your style, and they're going to come after you for that.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're going to stand out with what you do.
So how do you do that? How do you build your brand?
Well, it's one thing I say with photography is it's probably 95% hustle,
Mm.
and I hate to say that, but to work professionally,
Yeah. I think that's in every industry.
it is so much hustle and reaching out and rejection and then get a gig that gets some attention and keep pushing away, and then hopefully get some kind of commercial thing to pay for the art. And if there's one thing for me, like I never gotten that like sold out, like, oh, I only shoot for money. I mean, I shoot constantly every day. I shoot something,
Yeah.
whether it's for me, for personal work,
Right.
for like I said, my life, that can all kind of build into it's all kind of a story,
Right.
my viewpoint, and yeah.
So the selling out, like, it seems like, for you, you're doing it for the love. Like, you don't have
Yeah,
much of
it's-
an ego about it. You're just like, this is what I do. I'm here to serve, like, and do this. It's my passion.
Yeah.
So does selling out ever come into play? For some people, selling out is a big deal. Like, some people won't work with other people because that's like selling out on their personal brand. Do you ever like think about that?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm very attentive of who I'll shoot for. Definitely.
So what? You don't have to name names, but like, what kind of stuff would you turn down?
Well, I mean, there's certain things I just probably wouldn't be right for as well.
Sure.
You know, I mean, a lot of like, you know, photographers, they'll kind of market themselves towards, you know, cars, and they're not really, like, I'm not a car guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, could I go to the desert with my team and like make a beautiful Lexus coming down the highway? Like, yeah,
Sure.
I could totally do it. But
Yeah.
but I'm probably not going to get hired for that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
That being said, Lexus, if you're listening, because that would pay for a lot of art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. Definitely. But is there stuff that
But yeah,
like,
it depends, and you know, especially I also come from music. I used to, you know, in the '90s, I was kind of music video guy, man. I just did like music video after music video after music
Yeah.
video. That was like the roaring era of the
Videos.
of
Yeah.
the.
what was your first video you shot?
God, my very first video was a group called Mary's Danish,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
which was kind of in the era of Fishbone and the Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction. They were the new kind of band, and I was young, like 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
First video. That's
And then
amazing.
I was literally that guy that was at all the parties and, you know, shows around town.
Yeah.
And this kid, Justin Warfield, who was hip hop,
Of course.
Yeah.
he's still hip hop, but
Yeah.
he's got a group called She Wants Revenge. He came at me to do a video for Warner Brothers. So I guess that was one of my first, like, with a budget, you know. And so when we go back to like,
for a field trip to Planet 9.
yep,
Yeah.
we did a song called Que Sera Sera.
Yeah.
And we
Nice.
did Fisherman's Grotto.
Cool.
So I did 2 off that record, and what's funny is, you know, I mean, so I was young. I mean, 22 years old, 23, doing this mix of, you know, alternative because it was the '90s, and then Justin, you know, gave me some hip hop. Now I'll never forget, because I got a track from this group from New York, and like I said, I kind of grew up around hip hop culture, and I got a track from this song called "Leaders of the New School."
Yeah.
And this was the very first exposure of a dude named Busta Rhymes. And it stood out so much, man. I wanted that video so bad. But the nature of music videos is you're submitting a treatment.
Sure.
And I lost it to a guy named Hype Williams.
Yeah. That was the case
and-
of the PTA?
I can't remember the exact track, but I think it was called What's Next.
Oh, what's next?
What's
Yeah.
Next? But I love that track. But then, you know, so this was like I said, '90s music videos, and then I get a track from Atlantic Records, and they go, "We have this new singer-songwriter girl named Jewel. We're not going to invest a lot into this record because this is just kind of like a first exposure." And I mean, that's back when record labels would actually stick with somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're already thinking the second record,
Yeah.
which I don't think is the case anymore. But like, so it's just going to be a low-budget video, and they sent me this headshot of this little 17-year-old little blonde girl, like literally like in a flower dress,
Yeah.
beautiful.
I
And
love
like, you know, I literally probably like shot in a field, and I was like, she's gorgeous. And she had this song
Yeah.
called "Who Will Save Your Soul."
Yes, that was my favorite song.
Right?
growing up.
And so I love that song because like I'm open-minded to all music, and
Yeah.
you know, she touches a nerve, man. She's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
real
she's
deal.
amazing. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could tell. So we wrapped out with Jewel, and we came up with the game plan to shoot this video of kind of lost souls in a bathroom. We shot at LA City Hall, and it just blew up. You know what I mean? Like, it became "Who Will Save Your Souls," like in grocery stores.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
it was number one on MTV, number one on VH1 around the world.
Right.
For, I think for the entire year. And so that's kind of funny because then, you know, like I said, that kind of branding thing, like, oh, you know, you're not right for the car thing or this.
Right.
So then I started getting all these, you know, kind of like more kind of poppy
Yeah.
people wanting me to do their
Sure.
video. I was like, fuck, man, I want, you know,
Right.
the grimy hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, but because that led to like the Goo Goo Dolls, which
Mm-hmm.
you know, I did this song called Name, which that was another like number one for like I don't
Yeah.
know
Love the Goo Goo
2 straight
Dolls.
The whole
years.
world.
I still hear their Pandora station.
Yeah,
I do. I love. I
yeah,
love
and
that.
and it was great because now I'm really kind of getting down with my craft. I'm getting better. I mean, I started out kind of green. It was kind of like fake it till you make it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was
Yeah.
Sure.
And now I'm getting out there really getting to create my ideas and going back to the photography thing. And when I look back at that stuff when I first started, it's all still frames brought
Yeah.
to life. That's just kind of always how I've shot. It's always been this kind of moody cinematic vibe to my photography and my videos. And after that Goo Goo Dolls, I get a track from this Swedish group with this really catchy song group called the Cardigans, and
Yes, I
this
love
thing
them.
was
You're speaking my language.
love me, say that you love me. I was like, this is such a good,
Yeah.
good song, and like, the cutest singer and like
Yeah.
cool vibe, and I was like, I had to put together an entire pitch. So what I liked about music videos is, like, you're the creative agency. It's
Right.
it's all.
Yeah.
You might bounce some ideas with the artist and
Right.
stuff, but really, it's the director's complete vision,
Yeah.
and that's unlike commercials aren't like that.
Right,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Commercials,
Right.
I'm kind of rebranding somebody else's idea. I'm taking
Yeah.
it,
Right.
expanding it,
Yeah,
I'm kind of
creative
putting it in my
director, yeah.
world.
Yeah.
There's so many people involved, but
Yeah.
so music videos were this open canvas to try things, and it's and there was no 10 people hovering over you on set. It's like, I want to try this at 72 frames per second and have them
Right.
move like this, and
Right.
and shoot it overexposed and film, and we'll
Yeah.
kind of see how that looks in post, and to try shit,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
and
That's awesome.
So did you? Were there moments there where you felt like, I don't know how to do this? Like I'm.
Yeah, like the fake it till
I'm
you
in
make
over
it
my
comment.
over my
Yeah,
head.
like what
kinda
did you
thing.
mean by that?
well, there's I'm talking, I guess, more like when I first started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going to my friend David King, who was actually the guitarist for that group, Mary's Danish, and I was literally like, I did the assistant shuffle, the intern shuffle, the PA shuffle. I assisted some directors. I mean, for a short period, but
Yeah.
I got out there and I saw what was going on.
Was that
on-
experience important?
I think it was huge. I had to see the big picture.
Yeah.
I took a job at a post house for almost a year,
Yeah.
just the kind of on hands guy to go get bagels or help
Right.
with whatever, drive this tape over here. But I got to sit in studios like this and sit with like top colorists and guys that were directing and producers, and I would say I definitely had that young hustle going. When like you're really young, you're like, I could just completely conquer the world.
Yeah.
So I think that drive was
Sure.
a positive thing. I hadn't gotten any kind of rejections of life yet. It's just like, fuck yeah, I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, like
Innocence.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just I'm not gonna. I would say just that drive and determination, and where people I'd gone to school with were literally just like wrapping up college and getting $100,000 bill,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was kind of like represented as a director already, and but going back to that, so I did the assisting thing, and learned the craft, and I kind of learned a little piece of all areas.
Yeah.
But I would tend to watch the director, and I was also shooting pictures at this time. But I'm assistant, I'm young, so I'm not making money at it yet.
Did you know you wanted to be a director at that point?
I definitely wanted to be the director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely knew that I had the ideas, and
So take us back to kind of where that happened, right? So you're a kid in Pasadena, you're listening to hip hop, you're taking pictures, right? And then we skipped over because I know you're a lot of your work is associated with alternative rock, and so at some point you got into that, which let's talk about that too. But
Yep.
But take us back to that. When does this become
well, I'd
a
say
career for you? When do you start to get the sense that I could do this for a living?
Well, honestly, so I did. I skipped the college thing. I took some community college classes, and I was like, man, I need to jump out there and start assisting on
Yeah.
jobs. And I got some opportunities to, whatever you can get at that 18, 19 years old.
Sure.
'Cause I was like a PA on the Emmy Awards. I worked on some commercials. The funniest one was when I was David Lee Roth's director's assistant
No way.
for a solo video, which will forever be classic stories in my life, working with Diamond Dave.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
But so going back to the guy David King, the guitarist, I was like, like I want to direct. I don't know if I'm quite ready.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of one who's like, dude, fake it till you make it, man.
Yeah.
And he says that.
Did
It's
you
not,
get it?
And it's not like I'm he says that, but I think that's in a way of just to kind of build confidence. Like, just
for sure.
just go for it.
Did
Yeah.
you get it though when he said that? Did it like register with you?
Yeah, I was just like, man, I'm just gonna go for it.
Like, yeah, fuck
And
yeah.
you weren't
so
afraid.
like
You were
when I got like, because I'd been doing everything for free, you know what I mean? That's
Right.
why I really respect the kids out there, just go and shoot.
Willing
like,
to
shoot,
do the
shoot,
work.
shoot.
Yeah.
Do it. Put in the work. Doesn't matter about money. That'll come later if you have something to show. You have to have something to show. So like when I did the Justin Warfield video, like I had a legit Warner Brother record thing that was on MTV. You know, not all the time, but it had got some play, and word starts to spread about that.
Right.
So that's when the next videos started coming, and that's when I really got down with that open canvas thing, and kind of like half my life, and God, we're way back in the 90s, but half my life in the 90s was literally with headphones, listening to music, coming up with ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just always been in me.
Mm-hmm.
How long would you say you worked for free? Obviously, you started shooting just as a kid, but like, how long was that?
I still do print jobs for free. Funny thing is, like, people think, oh, you shot for that big magazine, you must be making so much money.
Right.
Editorial, you make nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Why is that? Because they're so big, it's like kind of pays.
Well, the magazines don't have money. They're not.
Yeah, they don't
Really?
have money anymore.
Yeah.
You're lucky to get a budget. Hair and makeup do it for free. The models do it for free.
Yeah, you do it for portfolio,
I
right?
had no idea.
Yeah, so you kind of want to, you have to do it. There's a reason that,
Sure.
Mario Testino and Annie Leibovitz and the
Yeah.
biggest photographers, I'm sure, their Vogue has some budget.
Sure.
Know, but they personally aren't getting any kind of payday. It's all a promotion and to stay fresh, to stay relevant, just kind of like how music videos are, try cool things and build your brand, and hopefully that leads to some kind of commercial or film work.
Right. So, well, let's say you're like running this as like your business. How do you know? Because I could imagine doing projects like that. You're like, okay, I've done these, I've built a portfolio, but I'm still not getting paid work, or because you've sort of been like working on building your portfolio.
Yeah,
How do you manage that?
photography is a tough game.
Yeah.
It's a tough game, and it's a frustrating game. Professionally, because you think, it could just happen so fast that I'll just get campaigns and make so much money. But it's something you really have to keep with. You gotta just keep pushing forward, keep defining your style, keep marketing yourself, keep getting your stuff out there, and I think if you do that and the right people see it, you start to get the opportunities. But it is definitely something you need to like stay in the game for. Similar to, I'm sure, musicians.
Right.
It's like
Absolutely.
models, actors, the creative arts.
Yeah, and there's this balance, right? Because as Cassie's saying, you can't just work for free.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to work. Right. And if no one's hiring you, you still got to work. You got to stay relevant. You got to stay dialed in.
Yeah.
You got to keep, you can't network with last year's projects, right? You got to keep showing people what you're doing, and I'm sure there's challenges there. So when you talk about marketing yourself, what have you found that works the best?
Well, I try and stay relevant with, kind of a email blast a few times a year. We'll send out cards to, the relevant photo editors and art buyers and creative directors and art directors, the ones that I think I'd be right for.
Yeah.
So we try and stay in touch with them, fresh work. As I guess you get more known, people start to, know about you.
Of course.
A little bit more, but it's still a thing. You're kind of only as good as your last project. Like, what have you been up to, kind of thing? Because there's, probably some pretty big people that, go quiet, just like actors. It's like, wait, where's that dude been for the last 4 years?
Right.
Hey, what's funny is it feels like some people, that works really well for some people. Kind of disappear, and then like there's a mystique about them, and then other people that doesn't work at all right now.
Oh yeah.
I always wonder, like, is there a science to that?
It is. Well, it's definitely not for everybody. I've seen so many people try and do the art thing or the photo thing, and they're like, it's not in them. They need to go get a regular job with health insurance and a 401k.
Yeah, sure.
No, it's tough.
And I think for someone like me, like it's just in me. It's what I have to do. It's what I have to drive for, and there's been lots of paying my due. It's been not a easy road, but like I said, I I stay driven by constantly shooting personal work, and thank God the hustle's been paying off. Like I work a lot,
Right.
so I'm really blessed to like get the opportunities and the people I get to work with now, because it's such an exciting time of
Right.
what I get to do.
Yeah.
Why do you get so much work?
I think I've maybe all that marketing's paid off.
Mm.
No, but is there anything specific you feel like is your philosophy and you have to do it with every project or every person you come in contact with? Because, for us, like a lot of our business comes from mostly word of mouth. Like if we do a really good project with a client, then
Yeah.
sure enough, they become like an advocate for Rebel.
Right.
So is that the case with you? Like, is it really just your core, like, client base that's really goes out there and goes to bat for you?
Well, I mean, it's an ever expanding client base, and the kind of the beauty of freelance life is so many different kinds of projects
Yeah.
can come up. So I'm not stuck to like I'm just shooting mayonnaise jars for a mayonnaise company.
Right.
I shoot tons of fashion projects for fashion brands.
Yeah.
I shoot portraits of people I find interesting, which end up in the upcoming art show I think we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Music is it's always amazing to get like a kind of iconic rock star or music person in your book. It's definitely not a payday, but like the cachet of it
Sure.
Of course.
is everything.
Yeah.
So I love shooting music people. I don't shoot as much music anymore, but
What was the first like big artist that you shot?
I've done a lot of work with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
I love
That's
those
kind of-
guys.
That's kind of my era of Hollywood. As I came up, I was a youngster
Sure.
and met Flea and Anthony, and
Yeah.
they always had about 5 or 6 years on me, so I was kind of the youngster. And
How'd you meet those guys?
through the music scene at the time, and I literally got kicked out of my mom's house at 17 years old, and ended up on a couch in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
was with that band Mary's Danish, and they
Yeah.
were like tight homies with the Chili Peppers, and
Funny.
that was that era, man, of like, and they all had like 5 years on me, so I was like the youngster that they
Right.
kind of, there's Jeff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I kind of got that inside scoop of like all the cool shows in that kind of era of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I was that kid with the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, we skipped over something I want to hear about. Just because I'm fascinated with these transitions that we make in our lives,
Yeah.
right? So it sounds like early days you're into hip hop, and
Well, I say hip hop, I definitely, that old KDAY, like
Yeah.
hip hop first starting, but I loved, all kinds of music.
Yeah, sure.
Ska music, the specials.
yeah, we're recording. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Punk rock, circle jerks, and
Yeah.
the weirdos and all that stuff. I was definitely into all that, and I wasn't afraid of like the Beatles or some classic shit too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like I said, I wasn't like full hip hop.
Right,
I wasn't
sure.
full punk rock. I was kind of like a chameleon. I guess I kind of absorbed all cultures, which
Yeah.
I think is kind of a good thing
Yeah.
Absolutely.
in life. So I didn't like have the mohawk, and I didn't
Mhm.
have a clock with a necklace around, but I was
Right.
kind of down with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the Chili Peppers, man, they kind of come from that culture where like, funk and hip hop
Yeah.
and
Totally.
rock and
Totally.
and it just kind of brings it all out.
Yeah, it's interesting because we tend to think of genres in these kind of exclusionary terms, right? And that's true to some extent, right? Like I definitely had friends that like they only listen to hip hop, and
Right.
everything else was shit, right?
Right.
But that's kind of the minority.
Yeah.
That's sort of your core,
Yeah.
right? But then there's a lot of us that I think like I said, you might have gravitated one way or the other, but you're
Yeah.
exposed to all of it. You can enjoy all
Yeah.
of it.
The one thing I hated was Sunset Strip metal. I was just never down.
Sure.
It just
course.
was never, it was just never my thing.
Yeah.
I took pride in there was a remember the rock club Gazaris? I took pride. It was like I never went to the Gazaris. It's like anti-rainbow.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah,
Well,
because
not anti, but you
No,
know, it wasn't my thing.
But
you
those,
know?
I mean, you know, that was like a different sensibility.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas we could spend all day. There's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of parallels between rock and hip, or between punk and hip hop.
Yeah.
Specifically
Yeah.
between you know the alternative stuff, the early '90s.
Yeah.
And hip hop, and like there's a lot of that connection. A lot of it was like the anti
Right.
Sunset Strip kind of thing, right?
Right.
That sort of establishment music.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get it.
But like stuff that had integrity, like going back, like when they sent me Jewel, it was like, you know, it was like totally different from where I came
Right.
from. I was like,
Right.
this is beautiful and
Yeah.
amazing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Didn't hurt to see her too. I'm sure. I mean, I've seen her. I've been in the same room with her. She's one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen.
she's a very special soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Totally.
her.
So, you know, obviously, it sounds like you were really influenced by music early on.
Mm-hmm.
Were there photographers that were kind of influencing you in the same way? I know, I took photography in high school, and like, I was like obsessed with Ansel Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure why, because
Right.
you know he shot stuff that I'm not particularly into, but I just
Right.
got all about
Right.
like Ansel Adams. Like, did you have that kind of thing?
Well, I'd definitely say I have my heroes, you know, Richard Avedon being a
Yeah.
key hero, and all the work Peter Lindbergh's been doing over all the years. And the very first company I directed for, Herb Ritz, was also at that company, and he was, you know, I definitely gravitated towards that. The people that were known photographers making beautiful images, and then they were also doing motion film, and like Stefan Sidney, sorry, he did the first that Chili Peppers Give It Away video,
Yeah.
but brilliant photographer. Like I said, Herb Ritz. The other company I was with was a guy, Jean-Baptiste Mondino, who's kind of a legendary photographer and director.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, as far as being like a youngster and influence, I was like, I want what they got. Do you know what I mean? I want both careers. I want to
Right.
be the director and the photographer.
Yeah.
How did-
You know, and I think so many things I see now, like, you know, people that are photographers, like, oh, I'm a director too, but it's like, I don't know if they've truly gotten out there on a big set. Like, it is a
Right.
completely different world, and I got that almost harsh reality. So in these 90s, when it was like, you know, I have those #1 MTV videos, I was like, oh, I could just do the photography thing, like, professionally, get huge gigs, like, so easy.
Right.
And it's a completely different world. Completely.
Really?
You know, it's a whole different set of, like, art buyers and creative directors that deal with photographers.
Right.
This building the portfolio thing, building the brand in that world, because the still frame, you know, still moment is it's just much different than the motion world. Yes, you're creating images, but as far as, like, you know, being hired professionally, it's a different game.
Is it a different skill set?
I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it's something where it's all your eye, it's all your communication, the intimacy you build with the person or the scene you're creating.
Right.
Yeah.
Where, you know, directors, if you have a good team and a good set, there's so many people involved. And I would say I learned so much from that, working with great cinematographers, you know, going back to my, like, trial and error kind of thing, I learned so much about light, directing music videos, because I got to work with some of these greatest cinematographers, because you're on the job, you could hire them, and
Right.
they become your friends, and you
Yeah.
do jobs. So to see what happens with light, you know, but with motion film, it's always, you know, continuous light, and then, you know, working with photography and strobes and that's a whole, technically it's a whole different thing. So
Right.
How does that change you when you're, you know, you haven't met these kind of photographers or directors before, but you've imagined meeting them, and now you're, like, on set working with them and kind of having coffee with them, maybe eating at the craft services table. But how does that change you?
what, working with, like,
Yeah.
cinematographers?
Or
and-
like these big name photographers and directors.
Well, I wouldn't so much be on set with them because I'd have my own set, but we would be at the same company.
Right.
So it'd be a lot of times of just, like, kind of like rapping out at the office, and I think there's kind of a artist camaraderie, you know, unless it's some asshole that thinks he's too special. But most great artists I've met are pretty cool with helping others. You know, there's a company called Palomar Pictures, one of my first companies, and a director named Gore Verbinski, who went on to do all the, what's the Johnny Depp one with the pirates? Yeah, what is,
Pirates of the Caribbean.
oh yeah, kind of like the $1 trillion.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, he went on to do all those.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing director. And he definitely had some years on me. I was definitely the youngster, and I would bounce ideas like, "What do you think? Like, how exactly? If I wanted to try this idea, take the time, you know." And from that company, I got wooed over to Ridley Scott's company, because then I guess I was kind of, you know, hot young video guy, and I was the era of like Spike Jonze was doing tons of videos, and Dante Areola, and so I got swooped over to Ridley Scott's company, and which was, you know, kind of huge for me at the time to be around that caliber of talent, and you know, such a amazing area. And same thing, like I'd go in the conference room and literally it'd be like production designer with huge replica sets for that movie Gladiator, which, you know what I mean, like I was like, I mean, I'm still like a kid that's like impressed, really impressed, like, and like, holy shit, how'd I even get in this room?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a kid that got like kicked out of my mom's house when I was 17 and on a couch in Hollywood, and you know what I mean? Like, so I still, even now, all these years later, I like giggle at some of the situations I get in. You know, I don't take it for granted.
Right.
I think, you know, it could all vanish.
Right.
You know?
No,
Yeah. How do you stay in touch with that? I mean, you know, I can relate to that sometimes, just marveling at whatever room I'm in, that
Right.
why are these people talking to me, you know? But, you know, but they are for a reason, right? And you
like me being here right now.
okay.
I used to hit that bar across the street, man. You know, like,
Exactly.
just a youngster knucklehead around here.
For sure.
I'm up here in this fancy studio with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you reconcile that, right? Like, you know, I guess on the one hand, like that innocence is kind of important to hang on to.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you know, it can, speaking for myself, it can kind of inhibit your confidence in some ways, right? Because you know, you have earned a seat at whatever table you happen to be at. Is that a conscious thing for you? Do you think about that, or does it just sort of happen?
I mean, I think I don't, like I said, I don't really take it for granted, and I kind of stay excited for the people I'll meet, you know. And I think even like people know that are pretty damn famous, man, they go through the same thing. I remember talking to somebody I knew that literally was nominated for an Academy Award, and he had that kind of artist doubt of like, dude, like people are gonna find out, like I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Sure.
And here I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, you're nominated for an Academy. I'm not gonna say the name, but like,
yeah, of course.
I mean, literally, it's just someone that's nominated for an Academy Award, like one of the top actors, you know. And so I think it's an artist thing that there could be self doubt, but you know, you have to kind of battle that with your confidence and, you know.
Yeah, because it's like your visions and stuff, it's like there's no formula. Like when you get these epiphanies or these moments, they just come out of nowhere.
Right.
I heard Elizabeth Gilbert like tell a story about like a woman who was on a farm, and she was a writer, and she was like working, and then she had this like bolt of lightning hit her head, and it was like this idea, and she ran inside to write it down. But like you can't plan those things, and she's a true artist, so it's like you're kind of subject to those moments. So it is, I could understand why it could be a roller coaster.
Yeah, I used to always have a notepad and a pen. Now I'm kind of getting down with my notes on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because it's true, like some like idea of like I have to create that, I got to shoot that somewhere.
Right.
And it might be a while down the line, but I kind of have my endless thread of
Yeah, you don't, it's crazy. Malcolm Gladwell talks about like when he used to ask the athletes, like, how did you do that thing that you did? And sometimes they don't know. It's like muscle memory or whatever.
Yeah.
But as an artist, I can only imagine like everything you experience and see goes into this bank that later then becomes something else, you know?
it goes into your arsenal.
Right. Yeah.
Totally. You know, you kind of sounds like there's like a, I don't know, you make it sound really easy. Right? Like, you know, I'm a
Get
kid,
out there and shoot.
and you know, I'm hanging out with Mary's Danish, and then next thing you know, I'm shooting the Chili Peppers. Next thing you know, I got a #1 video, right? And I know it's not that easy, right? Obviously, but what are some of the you know, failures or obstacles? You know, give us something that you know that you're like, I'm gonna have to overcome this.
Yeah, well, I'd say, there's so much rejection that, you know, I mean, last week we bid on this huge, because I direct commercials quite a bit, and I spent like 72 straight hours putting together this like 42-page pitch, you know, pulling images and writing the words and putting together this just beautiful presentation. But I'm bidding against 3 other directors,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't the most creative job of all time, but I put my heart and soul into it, because anytime,
You want to
it doesn't matter what it is. Like if I commit to a project, like they're getting all of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not just gonna half play it. So we put together this huge presentation. Of course, then there's like producers doing all the bids and all this stuff, and the phone calls with the producers and Didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know, that was just last week. I actually wouldn't have been able to do this radio show because I'm in Pittsburgh shooting a commercial right now.
Right.
But
Well, in that case, we're sorry you're here.
No,
no,
get it.
but there's been, and so that's like up to now.
Yeah.
And you know, there's been a saying, and you know, say what you will. I'm not religious at all, but there's a thing of rejection is God's protection. So,
Yeah.
I've overused that one. You know, but it's helped me a lot. You know what I mean? God,
Yeah.
whether it's the ocean, whatever.
Everything
But I was
for
like,
a
you know what I
reason,
mean?
right.
Not to get all spiritual on you guys, but
No, I like
there's
it.
definitely
We can take
been-
it.
No,
but
we
there
love
is-
it.
But there's so much, you know.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, I didn't get it. But then I've always been an optimist. I mean, where one door closes, another opens. I'm also been a realist, where like, you know, I didn't try and get into some lifestyle that I couldn't afford. You know,
Right.
there's always that artist thing that like all hell breaks loose. Like I'm eating, you know, Haitian food with Lady T in our little compound. You know what I mean? And we're good and we're happy and we're, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about the money. You know.
Is
It's
there?
not about-
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of temptation for that. I don't know, you know, but you're in the middle of Hollywood, hanging out with rock stars, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit to buy, and
Right.
you know, those lifestyle
Keep up with.
choices can kind of creep up on you.
Right.
Have you had moments of thinking about that? Like,
I mean, I don't know.
gotta-
I think just where I came from, I just never bit into that whole part of Hollywood. You know what I mean? I don't come from money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm the youngest of 3 kids.
Right.
Single mom that was a teacher her entire life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Hollywood nepotism in my family. Like I, you know, found my own way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There was nothing handed to me. Nothing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So when I was broke, I was straight up broke. There was no one to ask money for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
like this is broke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know,
And-
I was just listening this morning to this comic Gerard Carmichael on Mark Maron, and he
Yeah.
was talking about he moved to LA and he was living, you know, 4 people in the studio,
Yeah.
sleeping on the floor and not a dollar to his name, and you know that your story might be different, but
Yeah.
you know, I wonder like how important is that phase to keeping people grounded and
I think it's honestly it's huge. You know what I mean? Of course, there's always going to be the people that get it handed to them.
Sure.
You know, and even this thing I saw. I mean, God bless the kid, but what is it? The David Beckham's kid, 16 years old,
Yeah.
just got to shoot the Burberry campaign.
is that right? I didn't see that. Yeah,
I mean, you know,
sure, of course.
God bless him. He's a
Right.
Beckham, and you know, I mean, maybe it's kind of perfect. You know what I mean? Like, makes
Yeah.
sense for them. He's like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the hot British kid, and
Yeah.
they'll put him with the perfect team to
Mhm.
shoot the perfect model.
Right.
But, you know, there was no dues paid.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, similar thing. Sometimes, you know, there's a musician that just pops off, gets that #1 thing right off their first
Right.
first go at it,
Yeah.
but then they fade.
So you young kids coming up, have David Beckham as your father, and then it's all good.
Right.
Then you don't need the Rebel Radio show to teach you how to be successful.
Right. No, but I think paying your dues is
Yeah.
is huge, and you know what I mean. Everybody comes from different resources, and you know, but I still think it's, you know, to pound the pavement, to go through some rejections.
Yeah, build some
And
character.
then build some character, man. You know, I think, you know, sometimes maybe that could kind of turn someone into, you know, it's kind of an egomaniac. If it's like, I've seen too many people come through Hollywood and just kind of think they're the shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, later, dude, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've
also they're
seen
not
it.
real. And also, like, people are, you know, pretty much the people I've worked with and like to shoot are all pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we all get along. You know, but when you know, hear about these people that just kind of Hollywood fucking goes to their head, you know, and it's like,
Right.
I guess because I'm from here, I just kind of laugh. I'm like, okay, dude, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen that, and I always feel like the signal to me is like people, you know, thinking something's beneath them.
Right.
That like the minute you think that, you're just kind of, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Life's gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite projects of last year was, you know, I just took just me and this model, Sarah Cummings, who's just such a just special Americana face. Just me and her drove out to these little secret spots in the desert, I know, and no hair, no makeup, no assistants, bouncing lights, just me and her, as natural as it gets. And I just did it for the labor of love.
Yeah.
You know, I knew she's a great face, so I can use that in my portfolio and that kind of stuff. But that photo just came out as that shoot. One was used for the leather company. She was in this dope leather jacket for this Swedish leather company called Deadwood. They used it. They wanted to use one of the pictures for a full street campaign all across Stockholm.
Yeah.
You know,
It's amazing how it pays off.
and
like that.
the shoot just came out in an awesome new magazine called Damaged Goods. Did it open the whole magazine up as a 16-page spread
Oh, cool.
from this shoot?
Let me check that out.
So, you know, I just went out there for the labor of love and the
Right.
art show I have coming up. You know, it's one of the key images. And another photo from that shoot was one of my promos, which I sent to the entire industry to
Right.
get no work. So
Right.
there was no entourage. And, you know, I mean, I've done shoots with, 100 people working with
Sure.
me. You know what I mean? This was just me and her. And I think there is a kind of, so it goes back to like, oh, if I was too good to just go do this thing for free,
Right.
I wouldn't have got all that,
Yeah.
Right.
you know?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
So,
I want to leave time for the show.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about the show. I have one more question before we get to that. Just, you know, you talk about, you know, Mary's Danish, this band that very few of us have heard of. I remember I had some friends that worked with them. Did you know Roy Campanella?
Yes.
So he's
Yes. I
he
remember.
was an old friend of mine, the
Yeah.
grandson of the basketball, of the
That's
baseball
right. That's
player.
right. That's right.
And anyway, he had done some stuff with Mary's Danish, which is kind of the only way I know about them,
Uh-huh.
other than maybe just being around L.A. But, you know, and Justin, same thing, is not famous, but he was really influential
Yes.
to a lot of people. And, you know, we had Adam 12 on the show. And,
Okay.
and you know, I think a lot of people have been touched by Justin and his music
Mm-hmm.
and really just showing people that they could make something different than the sort of mainstream
Right.
hip hop at the time,
Right.
right? And so, you know, I guess I'm wondering about that role of the kind of like non-famous influencer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much talk about influencers now. And it's, you know, and the Kardashians are kind of like the you know, the poster for that, right? Which is this idea that, you know, everybody knows you and every piece of, you know, everything you say or content you put out, like, gets
Attention.
a lot of attention, right? And yet there are these people in music, I imagine, in photography, because photographers tend to be less famous. You know, we could, you know, guys like me can name like 4 or 5 really
Right.
famous photographers.
Right. Right.
So, you know, how important is that, and how, damn, I don't even know what the question is, but, you know, I'm wondering just about that role, you know, of influencers.
Like, is that a goal of his to ever reach?
Sure,
Is that what
that's a
you're asking?
question.
Like,
no, but But maybe let's ask that. Like,
What, of the ones not as known?
I wouldn't imagine it's your goal to not be super known, but
Yeah.
I think like,
How important is it to be known in the industry versus the public?
yeah, sure.
Well, I don't know. It's such a funny time right now because, like, this whole kind of Instagram culture and
Yeah.
all that. Like, I'll come across someone like I've never personally fucking heard of, and there's like
Right.
8 million people. Some,
Yeah.
And you're just like, what
London
the
model
heck?
actor. I'm like, who? Like
Uh-huh.
8 million people. Tons of photographers. I'd never heard of them. Like, what do you mean? Like 350,000 people shooting like a road trip with their girlfriend in
Right.
like, Alaska or something. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I follow some of those.
beautiful pictures. you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, I follow some
Beautiful.
of
Right.
And mine's only like 4,000. I'm like, damn, I've shot some like legit shit.
No, I mean, that's
so I don't know how much like sway I have in kind of like that social media world. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it'll grow. From
But
this.
that doesn't
I'm
matter. But it doesn't matter to people like, who are established in the industry, or
Right.
does it matter? Like to have that social
I don't know. I think
identity.
it's a changing time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'll let the jobs I shoot like promote it, put them on billboards or TV or
Right.
magazines, and I think probably gets a lot more exposure
yeah, of course.
in the face of people on the street
Right.
actually seeing my work. And obviously, it's not about that, but you want your stuff. Who doesn't want you want your stuff to be seen? That's why
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
doing it. I mean, that's
of
why I'm
course.
doing, an art show, and I want my stuff to be seen. But I do it for me.
Yeah.
I always do it for me, and I think like the people that know about me, like I said, it's not just like the masses. I think it's kind of, I don't know, the right people.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
The,
Wait, so I imagine
a lot
you're
of people I
seeing-
respect and stuff.
Because the thing about Instagram is that, I mean, again, people call them influencers, but really they're photographers. Like everyone on Instagram is a
Right,
photographer.
right.
Otherwise, you're not
They're-
on
they're-
otherwise, you're on Twitter.
They're laying out images.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and we've heard about the, guys that have 1 million followers that can then get hired to do a brand campaign.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's as a model or I don't know how much it's happening as a photographer, that those people are getting hired. Does that change the game for you in terms of like how much do you think about sort of competition in that sense?
I don't know. I think I've just kind of had my own ship.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on there, and I
Sure.
like it. I have fun with it. I put behind the scenes moments, and
Yeah.
what's funny is when I put some kind of like polished, like, the actual shot that was in the magazine, it's like
Right.
way less likes than
Yeah.
like the behind the scenes shot.
Yeah.
So, which goes back to a lot of these jobs I work on now, with clients. I mean, mainstream jobs. It's a changing culture where the keywords are always like authentic, human. It's always human.
Right.
Because it's true. People see
Yeah.
through things now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which
Right.
in a way is kind of awesome, but it's a different time where things before could maybe be a lot more kind of art directed and stuff, and now people are looking for real moments. I mean, I did this job where I went to 11 countries for Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook hired me to go around the entire world.
Right.
And the keyword just human,
Yeah.
authentic,
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
That's what I like about T-Mobile. They're just like rebel, punk rock.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
They let me play like Iggy Pop. I mean, honestly, for such a huge band, they're awesome, man. Like
Yeah.
they just let me go for it. Even I couldn't believe it. I was like, I love them.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it shows in the pictures because I mean
Yeah.
that's their whole branding is just like unleashed. Don't give
Yeah.
a fuck.
Right.
Break
Very cool.
contracts.
Yeah.
Kick down the walls.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about this new project.
Yeah.
So it's tell us what's the name of the show?
It's called Endorsement.
Okay.
The photos, the Unseen Cobain Photos.
Okay.
And so this was really a unique project. I shoot people for the most part. I mean, I create images, but
Right.
I got this call 8 years ago from a friend that worked for the estate of Kurt Cobain. And they said they're putting together a book, and a different kind of book, not just, all music photos, but a real insight into Kurt Cobain. And they wanted to go to where, basically the vault of
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain and basically shoot some of his most personal belongings and mementos and stuff, and which is very different for me because like this is, let's bring life to a still life,
Right.
you know. Kurt's Converse, the actual heart-shaped boxes, you know.
Yeah.
So we went down there, which is this really high security place in Compton of all places. But
Oh, wow.
literally, you pull on the street, and there's like Lloyd's of London like security cameras on you. It's a place where like the biggest art that comes to like Getty and MoMA and Mocha. You know what I mean? Like
It's stored there.
stored there. It's like
Really?
it's pretty. Yeah, it's like nondescript, but it's,
We have a lot of art thieves that listen to the show.
yeah. It's somewhere in
They're gonna-
Compton.
They're gonna, yeah. Email Geoff Moore if you want to know the
It's
address.
somewhere in Compton. But so we first go down there for kind of a walkthrough. And of course I wanted to do the project. I was fascinated. I mean,
Yeah.
fascinating to anything to do with Kurt Cobain and
Yeah.
the legend, the mythology.
Had
and,
you worked
know,
with him or with Nirvana?
I had I never got to shoot Nirvana besides some live shots at Cow Palace in
Oh,
like
cool.
1991 where they opened up for the Chili Peppers.
Oh, amazing.
And I was literally on stage and with my Venice homie and yeah, right down stage. I mean, Nirvana was something special.
Yeah.
It was just an explosion the
Yeah.
entire time. But Kurt was definitely, you know, he wasn't out like shooting the shit with people after the show. He was
Sure.
definitely personal and in his own kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of a kid that got a backstage pass, really. But I got some pictures of them just smashing instruments, and my friend Lefty doing a flying stage dive in front of 16,000 people, and you know I was always there with my camera. And the funny thing, I put up one of those pictures on like IG or something, and of course then it got picked up by like all these Nirvana fans, and
Right.
someone had, I guess, Googled the date of the, because I didn't even remember the show. It was like Cow Palace, I don't know, 91, 92, but of
Right.
course, you know what I mean, internet now, they're like,
Yeah.
that was the Cow Palace show, 1991, New Year's Eve. And we went to YouTube, somebody sent a link to YouTube, and a guy standing right next to me was videotaping it, but this is like
No way.
1991
Yeah.
videotape.
Sure, look
And,
great.
and like literally right when Nirvana's, it's the encore and they're smashing their instruments, you see me step in.
Oh man,
No way.
that's so crazy.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Snap the picture, and yeah, it's such a
Wow.
trip. Like everything is kind of like geotagged and
Yeah.
Yeah.
database. And but
Absolutely.
for that moment, there was literally a dude next to me filming it.
Yeah.
It was kind of a trip.
That's cool.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I love Nirvana. I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
You know, I also a lot of friends that tried to help Kurt, and
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
know, I kind of related a lot to his, you know, darkness.
Sure.
You know, because I got my own story of overcoming a lot of similar things.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I never got to meet him personally. But what a fascinating call to get to like
Right.
let's
Absolutely.
open up the you know, to shoot for this book.
Yeah,
Why do you
that's
Cobain
think-
Unseen.
Why do you think they called you? I'm sure
Well,
anybody.
I would say, you know, relationships are, you know, it's a very kind of, you know, I guess my friend that worked for the estate wanted someone that they could trust, and
Yeah.
you know, I
Right.
don't think they put it out to a lot of like photo agencies and stuff.
Sure.
I think it was kind of a direct call that like, do you want to do this?
Mhm.
Right.
You'd be right for this. So we first went down there and we kind of just like saw what was there, and it was fascinating because in this you know art pack security place is basically like two huge shelves similar to like you know just a storage unit really,
Mhm.
but what's there is like lines of guitar cases and then like rows of paintings, which you know we didn't shoot that stuff, but this art, these paintings of Kurt Cobain is some of the most brilliant stuff I've ever seen. That could, you know, and I'm sure the estate is going to roll with this. It
Yeah.
should be in museums traveling around the world.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful his paintings, and that tapped me into like we're exposing more of Kurt the artist. I mean, people know him from the songs and stuff, but
Right.
so I love the concept of the book, and so we went through and opened up containers of different things. You know, so, like I said, similar to a storage unit, and which in a way was kind of sad, because you know here's like you know the legend of his music and his stuff, and there's so much reach, but all
Yeah.
said and done, it was these
Boxes.
two storage unit shelves filled
Yeah.
with tubs and cases, and just like you know if our stuff was in a storage unit, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
But inside those were the last demos and recordings of Kurt Cobain.
Wow.
all the journals,
Yeah.
every single, almost everything Kurt Cobain had, he wrote on and wrote words and poems and like, I mean, this a special soul. So we sorted through everything, you know, that we wanted to shoot, and then we worked it out to get it transported to a photo studio so I could create it how I create it, which was a whole thing. It had to be like, you know, specially delivered and security and literally had to shoot the whole time. Like sometimes when you shoot a big celebrity, you'll get like some, you know, $10 million diamond, and you got to have a dude there. I mean, so it was like,
Sure.
I mean, totally different, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the stuff is priceless.
Yeah.
And so we got it down to a photo studio in downtown LA, and we basically had, you know, a 10-hour shoot to create. I think it turned out to be about 40 different things we were shooting. So if you know anything about photography, that's a busy day.
Yes.
You know, because
all the lighting and setups.
Sets.
yeah, and like creating the sets out of his stuff. So whether it was like this weird marionette thing that he collected, that you know he, so kind of like bringing life to that. And it was, like I said, it's different for me because I shoot people, things alive.
Yeah.
But in one way, I was like, this is awesome. They don't talk back. You know.
I can just move them
No
easily.
bathroom breaks.
Yeah, no bathroom breaks, no drama, no
Right.
publicist standing over there.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was fascinating to kind of break out one thing at a time, and you know, whether it was his guitars or, you know, I mean, the actual shoes that he wore, and it's weird, and I'm not gonna say spooky, but you know, I mean, it's different. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
yeah.
this is like,
It's crazy.
you know, you're not gonna go through my storage unit, and you know, it's not gonna be that much attention. It's gonna be like-
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's because it was Kurt Cobain, and you know, it's one thing. Photography is access. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
you know, whether you're, you know, if your game is trying to shoot like celebrities or known people, you got to have access
Right.
to them, and whether your game is shooting a beautiful sunset, you got to have access to that right place to get the shot.
Right.
But so this was a thing where no one else was going to get this access. So it was
Yeah.
it was kind of an amazing opportunity. Let alone, I mean, there's permanence in a book, printed page. I'm all about the printed page.
Sure.
So it was a great team from the book company that we shot it with, and our friend Ava from the estate that actually brought me on. And the book came out, and like I said, it's actually out of print. I found out because we wanted to get like 50 of them for the show. It's out of print. I've never quite seen a book this well put together, because they would have like, and it's not just my photos. It's lots of pictures of young Kurt and Nirvana shots, and it's kind of a full scale look at Kurt as the person, as the artist. But these really played a huge part. I think about 40 pages, 50 pages of the book were my pictures. So that's what we're showing. The book came out 2008. Big success. You know, it just went around all around the world, and I think you know, especially art and Nirvana fans, you know.
Why is the show now?
It was always something I talk about. Even when we were shooting it, I was like talking with the person that brought me on. I was like, these would be amazing on a gallery wall.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just something that was kind of the back burner. I mean, I shoot so much commercially, and last year I was a part of a benefit for the Fleas Music Foundation, the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music, and one of the other fellow artists, Dana Louise Kirkpatrick, who's a good friend and amazing artist. She's represented by KM Fine Arts on La Cienega, and the conversation came up of, well, me, like I was like, I should do more art stuff. I like this art thing. You know, done lots of kind of benefits or some group shows. I did a thing with Alex Prager, actually down the street here, that the Lucy Foundation did. It was a big kind of dual amazing show, but I'd never done a solo gallery show. So the conversation came up with Anna Hollinger, who's the gallery director at KM, about these Cobain pictures. And my first idea was like, no, I want to do a show with all my black and white moments, my view of LA, my portraits of Norman Reedus in 1996, and you know what I mean, like, but we started talking about it, and we're like, what a fascinating show this would be. You know, going back to, like, I always knew it would be a amazing show, and then it's like, I don't want these things to just sit on my hard drive.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to make big fine art prints of them and show them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when we started printing them, it was really just like, holy shit! Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just because once then you put it at a fine art level,
Mm-hmm.
and you see it like big. I'm doing like some 6-foot prints and
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow. Yeah, that's big.
working with this guy. Contact Photo Lab downtown is one of the Chris at Contact. Really the greatest printer
Yeah.
in Los Angeles.
Right.
So we worked really, really hard to put together some really beautiful fine art versions of these, and it's awesome. They were in the book,
Mhm.
and now they're
Mhm.
going to be on the wall, and it's a huge selection. Doing about 27 prints of the Cobain stuff, and going back to like, well, that's not my normal style, Anna. I want to show my other stuff. The back half of the gallery, there's a big gallery,
Yeah.
is my kind of up doing a big cinematic black and white montage
Oh,
of
cool.
of 20 other photos.
Nice.
So it's kind of a little 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
And we really what's getting like, you know, a lot of the talk obviously is the Cobain stuff because it's kind of a special and a unique project.
Yeah, so awesome.
And yeah, it opens next week.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
And how long will it run?
It's February 11th, opens to the public and runs till March 26th.
Oh,
Okay.
That's a good one.
And yeah, I think anybody should try and get down there
Yeah.
and see
Yeah.
this stuff.
We'll be there.
You
For
coming?
sure.
For
Can
sure.
Can I ask you, for when you're, I work with photographers who shoot a lot of product stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But this is different, I assume, because there's so much sentimental value in every piece, right?
Right.
And there's like a story behind it. How did you prepare yourself to like shoot these pieces?
Well, I think we kind of, you know, I always kind of like sketch out kind of a shot list for the day and kind of, I guess, kind of a rough stick figure storyboards of what I want to get across. But we had to also move fast
Yeah.
because we only got, you know, you get 8 hours with this stuff because I had to get back to the
Right.
high security storage
Right.
with the dude in the van and the, you know. But I mean, I kind of like mapped out the shoot day and for what each thing was and what I could bring life to it. Like there was these statues, sculptures that he collected that he kind of like painted over the eyes, and like I said, he touched everything.
Mm.
So like going in and shooting almost like a portrait I would of, you know, Clint Eastwood or something, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
giving life, like boom to this steel frame object. And like the journals, the really special things were when we broke out these heart-shaped boxes,
Yeah.
because it was like, you know, I mean, I love Nirvana and, you know, that song Heart-Shaped Box, and of course there's all that
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, just like, holy shit, dude, these are the fucking
This
heart-shaped
is the
boxes.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we opened this one, and inside it was, and apparently Kurt and Courtney would kind of share this with each other. It was kind of part of their thing, which is beautiful. Like their love story was these heart-shaped boxes. But I think, well, this one box we opened, and there was like a bunch of leaves and these rosaries. So it was kind of his special box, right? And there was a piece of the Roman Colosseum, which, if you know the history of it, of Kurt's last time on Earth, he was in Italy and he had overdosed. And apparently when he was out there, he broke a piece of the Roman Colosseum off.
Oh, wow.
And that was in the heart-shaped box. And
Pretty sure that's illegal.
yeah. And all these hairs, which was kind of weird. And I think
Wow.
that was part of their things. And
Oh, that's a trip.
when you shoot like high-res, like Hasselblad lens and like big reproductions, kind of a trip that like this Kurt's hairs there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
too,
that's
which is,
so
you know, it's a little
crazy.
spooky. And, you know, so it was 8 years ago, so that's why I was fully all about the iPod too. So I just had iPod shuffle going
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
with like a trillion songs, and
What do you play?
I just put on like random shuffle, right?
Were you listening to Nirvana, or it's just
No, we
all
were just
random
a random shuffle.
Yeah.
I literally probably had like only like, you know, maybe one Nirvana record on there or something.
Right.
Trillion songs. Well, not trillion, but you know what I mean? All of a sudden when we're shooting, you know, some of his most personal stuff, that song Penny Royalty came on. It was just kind of like everybody around the whole crew was just was a moment.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it was a moment. So I mean, I would say definitely like on set, we felt kind of touched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like you talked about already? You're known for shooting people, and that's kind of been your
Yeah.
vision throughout your career and your brand, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, how do you then take these inanimate objects and infuse? I imagine a job like this, you want to do justice to the material, but
Right.
you also want to give it your voice.
Right.
How do you do both?
I mean, I think I just tried to. I wanted to shoot everything without distractions. That's why
Yeah.
most of it's kind of a white background. I don't want anything distracted.
Yeah.
I want it to, and I do the same thing with people for the most part. I like to, which is something I really keyed in from Richard Avedon, is focus on the subject without too
Yeah.
much distractions. Which doesn't mean I don't like shooting people on location too,
Mhm.
but. For this, I really wanted stuff to stand out and become iconic.
Yeah.
Give it a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, in one way, it's like, well, this looks so simple, but really, it's kind of well thought out of how this stuff was going to be shot,
Right.
because, there's a million different ways you can shoot something.
Sure.
So I wanted to give it as much life and personality as for being an inanimate object. Certain things like his guitars, it's like, okay, it's just a picture. Like in one way to me, it's like I said, it's so different from me. Like, it's just a fucking guitar,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. It's that guitar what it did,
Right.
Right.
that that we took it out of these cases in this place and brought it to life. And the one that really got me the most, I think, was the journals,
Mm.
because that was a big book where they published a book of just his journal writings,
Right.
and going back to just how priceless this stuff is.
Yeah.
It's so we really I spent some time kind of laying out a lot of the right journal pieces and handwritten lyrics, and kind of I guess created kind of a set
Yeah.
with the lyrics, and then the tape collection that was like, holy shit, this is what's in here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
So cool.
That's so cool.
I love the documentary, and it I love Nirvana, the main songs, but I wasn't a diehard fan. But when I saw the documentary, I was it touched me for 3 days. I was like, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
which one?
The recent documentary that
Montage
came
of
out.
Heck?
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was like, wow. Excuse me, but
Which was beautiful, and that was with his daughter's full involvement,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
beautifully done.
Yeah.
And what a tribute to this person. All these years later, this kind of phenomenon just kind of keeps growing.
I
Yeah.
know, it's so crazy.
So, as a music guy and a rock guy, in particular, what's the where are we at now?
With music?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the youngsters are just gonna keep bringing it. I just saw this group the other night called Dead Dawn, which I'm obsessed with, because they are just bringing the full rock, just
Really?
getting drunk, smashing shit, and I'm just
Yeah.
kind of living vicariously through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So it sounds like you kind of keep up.
I don't go to shows like I used to go to shows,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely
How could
music's
you?
my thing. I haven't become a jaded person that's like, dude, back in my day,
Right.
that was all the real stuff. Because
Yeah.
look at it,
I have.
you have.
I fight it, but
It's tough. I think hip hop is definitely better. 90s, and a lot of shit. You're right. No.
Yeah.
No.
yeah.
I mean, look,
there's so much stuff has got kind of poppy, like a record company get behind one single, if it doesn't pop off, and there's so much trash out there, and this kind of.
But you do see kids that are still.
Yeah, I mean, I
They're
try
all
and
in.
keep up with the raw dog,
Yeah.
local scene,
Yeah.
of people that are really going for it,
Yeah.
But of course, I have my classics, you know what I mean, and rest in peace, David Bowie. There'll never be another.
Sure.
You know?
Crazy.
Sure.
Crazy.
It feels like, I know people have been proclaiming rock dead since, the 60, I forget when Rolling Stone announced it the first time. And,
Right.
It's happened over and over. But it feels like, for the moment at least, rock is kind of dead in terms of its cultural influence. Certainly if we think back to when the Chili Peppers and Nirvana and those bands were at their peak, the impact that was making on the world, right?
Yeah.
Whereas today, the artists that are making the huge impact on the world they're not holding guitars, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, even like this Coachella thing where it's like the resurgence of Guns N' Roses, like really? Like, whatever.
I like the rock concerts at the Coachella shows though.
No, I do too.
They're
but
really when
Guns N'
AC/DC
Roses?
came on, I lost my shit.
Well,
And
the
I'm-
thing, I mean, that's the thing. First of all,
I saw AC/DC at the LA Forum in like '83.
right. I mean, that's the
They
time to see
blew
it.
out these smoke. They brought the cannons out, and these like smoke rings like shot
Yeah.
across the entire forum. I was like 13 and high, and dude,
Oh yeah,
That's
that's like
amazing.
those are actually the best, but
What
they're the best shows.
Well, not to
Live.
defend, not that Coachella needs me to defend them, but on the one hand, they've kind of had everybody,
it's true.
right? Like there's 17 years in or something with 150 acts a year. Like they're running out of stuff
Yeah,
that no one's seen before.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, like a lot of people are gonna pay to go see Guns N' Roses. Like
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like I think now's not the time if I were to ever get excited about seeing them.
right.
Not so much in their 50s, but but like it sells tickets.
Yeah.
No, I would probably hum along to some of their songs too,
Sure.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, who knows? I'll probably be out there.
exactly.
But I will say, God, the year they had Rage Against the Machine do their kind of reunion,
Yeah.
and I was like, my God, like
That was early
that's
on.
going back to like some of those groups that, man, like talk about cultural influence,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
just brought just an entire explosion,
Yeah.
and same thing with like Chili Peppers, man.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
love those guys.
They bring it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool.
But I think that there's always going to be, youngsters making great music. I mean, look at, the 27 Club. I mean, Jimi Hendrix and Kurt and Janis Joplin and, all these people that created all that stuff by the time they were 27.
Yeah.
Their whole archive, and then they're gone. So I don't, it might be different outlets now. And, but I think, I don't hate on the new generation. You know what I mean? I back it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And what about photographers coming up? Like, you mentioned some of the guys, the big guys were kind of good to you, right? So are you, do you mentor kids, or do you like, let me ask it this way. What advice do you give to a young photographer that's trying to get on?
Well, like I said in the beginning, shoot.
Yeah.
Just shoot for free, for $50, whatever. I mean, don't get walked on, but
Sure.
shoot your life, shoot your friends. Always have a camera with you.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a specific photographer that takes 18 lights to make a shot.
Right.
But if you're able to just keep creating, keep building your look, keep building your brand,
Mm-hmm.
and hustle,
Yeah.
and if you stay with it and if you're making good work, it'll stand out.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but then there's a lot of people that just kind of like me trying to be a guitarist, like it's just not in me, and there's
Right.
no disrespect, but some people just what I mean, there's some soul missing from it. This is my personal opinion. Like I've worked with people that are the most amazing like lighting assistants, and like technically they went to Brooks Institute and Art Center, and they know every technical thing, and in their own work there's just no soul to it. And no disrespect, but maybe they can grow with that. But
Sure.
I think there's an eye, and there's a special photographer will always stand out.
Yeah.
So, but you can only find that out by shooting and creating.
Yeah.
And trial and error. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's tons of stuff where I ain't showing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Are there still photographers that inspire you, that like younger guys that you look at? And
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my kind of idols.
Mhm.
Like I said in the beginning, I mean, some have long passed now, which are just kind of influenced me. The kind of Irving Penn and the Richard Avedons, but
yeah,
Peter Lindbergh's still doing his things. Some of the top fashion guys, the guy Craig McDean, who's I think a really amazing. And I keep track what people are doing, and to get inspired by.
Mhm.
I think I have to know what's going on in my business and the arts
Sure.
to see what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice. What's next after the show?
Well, I'm actually being freelance life. We shall see, but I got lots of things brewing.
Yeah,
We
need to talk about that. But what do you think is the role of the photographer in shaping the culture?
I think it's pretty huge,
Yeah.
to find moments, or whether it's what person's face is the kind of trendsetter, or
Right.
where they're at. I mean, I think still image definitely stops everything in its tracks if it's
Yeah.
the right kind of powerful
Right.
moment.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, it's the, music and culture is so ephemeral, right? It's that moment on stage,
Yeah,
in '91 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? That, it lives in your brain somewhere, but guys like you make that endure,
yeah,
right? And they enable, and we're able to learn about, the jazz or punk rock or eras past through, the images,
right,
as much as through the music, and it sort of, creates a greater context.
right. And there's also like a huge kind of time capsule
Yeah.
too. I mean, I kind of go for like timeless in mind, that hopefully in 50 years it'll be like, man, that was a good moment.
Totally.
I think there's so much kind of disposable photography now, that
Right.
stuff that kind of stands out and creates a kind of a timeless vibe will always be better. And that's whether, even if it's something, a famous person's face, or a cultural earth moment, like that picture of the poor Syrian kid that washed up on the beach. I mean, that's
Right.
powerful, man. And I'm not out there in any kind of shooting that AP out there in the trenches
Sure.
of
Right.
the world stuff, which mad respect to those people, man.
Right.
Yeah.
I've met a couple guys that went to like just like the Palestinian conflict. It's like, dude, like
Crazy.
that's hardcore, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
that's
makes
so
me feel like
dangerous too.
mass respect, like as I'm here
Yeah.
setting up my shoot in New York or Hollywood or London,
For sure.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Well, dude, thanks for coming by, man.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
I'm excited to see the show.
Yeah, super excited.
And, come back, promote the next thing.
Yeah.
For sure,
We'd
for
love
sure.
to
This
have
was
you.
great. For being a behind the scenes person, this was like just a comfortable conversation.
Dope.
Yeah, you'll love it when we edit all the music stuff. It'll bring back some moments.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I appreciate you
Awesome.
sharing your.
Awesome.
Yo, that was a good one. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Really like that guy, Geoff. Check out his photos online. If you're in LA, get out to an art show and check him out. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Rebel Radio at iTunes. And most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio. Peace.